Standing on my high-rise balcony, watching the early morning fog roll over the pines of Portland, I realized a brutal truth about my existence. It had been 8 full months since I packed up my life and moved across the country, and not a single soul from my family had even noticed I was gone. Solitude used to feel like a quiet comfort, but that morning it felt like concrete proof that I was entirely invisible to the people who were supposed to love me most. When I loaded my belongings into a rental truck and left Columbus behind, I did it without any grand speeches or explosive arguments. My close friends helped me tape the boxes shut, crying and wondering if I was really going to leave without saying goodbye to my parents. I told them there was no point in announcing my departure to people who never looked in my direction anyway. I left a small framed photo on the empty windowsill of my old apartment, showing a lonely 9-year-old kid standing by a science fair poster without a parent in sight. For almost a year, my phone remained completely silent, until a thin beige envelope arrived in my new mailbox. My mother had written my name in her neat cursive, but the return address was still the old family home in Ohio, completely ignoring the fact that I had established a new life thousands of miles away. Inside was a formal invitation to my brother Dustin's lavish wedding. They had not taken the time to reach out or see how I was doing, but they made sure the mail system forwarded their generic card to my new doorstep. A few days before the invite showed up, I had received a voicemail from an unknown number that made my stomach churn. My mother casually explained that Dustin's big day was approaching and suggested that since I was doing so well for myself, I should contribute $15,000 toward the event expenses. She did not ask how I was doing, where I was living, or why I had vanished from their lives. I was simply a convenient resource they remembered whenever a bill needed to be paid. When I finally called her back to confront the situation, the conversation was maddeningly distant. I pointed out that she did not even realize I had relocated to the West Coast, but she brushed it off by claiming they just did not want to crowd my busy schedule. There was no warmth in her tone, no apology, and certainly no interest in my life. It became painfully clear that my years of hard work and self-reliance had merely turned me into a backup bank account in their eyes. Sitting at my desk, I logged into my bank account and realized that while I could technically afford the expense, giving in would violate my self-respect. My mind drifted back to high school when I begged my father for help with college tuition. He barely looked up from his breakfast before telling me that all their savings were reserved for Dustin's bright future, smugly adding that I was smart enough to figure things out on my own. I survived by working double shifts and patching my shoes, while Dustin was handed a shiny new car. The breaking point arrived when a cousin forwarded a shared planning spreadsheet titled Dustin and Alina's wedding donors. As I scanned down the list of contributions, my heart froze when I saw a $15,000 target listed under the name Justin. They had not only demanded my hard-earned savings, but they could not even be bothered to spell my actual name correctly. They had thoroughly erased my identity and replaced me with a misspelled placeholder on a public budget sheet. Just as the humiliation threatened to overwhelm me, my phone chimed with a gentle message from my grandmother. She sent a brief note saying that even if the rest of the family was blind to my worth, she saw how far I had come and was immensely proud of me. Those few quiet words grounded me instantly. I opened my email, composed a short and precise message to the entire wedding group stating I would not be contributing financially, and requested that my name be removed from all future documents. The moment I removed myself from that spreadsheet, the floodgates of family outrage opened. My phone buzzed continuously with hostile messages accusing me of ruining the family harmony and embarrassing my mother over a simple administrative mistake. Shortly after, another relative secretly texted me, a revelation that stung deeper than anything else. My parents had recently gifted Dustin $50,000 to buy a luxury home with custom finishes, proving once again where their true priorities rested. I called my mother one last time to ask if I was even genuinely wanted at the celebration as an actual guest. She paused before coldly replying that since I had made my hostile stance clear, having me there would only make things awkward for everyone involved. I told her not to expect my silence to fund their noisy lifestyles anymore and ended the call forever. That evening, I opened my personal journal and wrote that being excluded by toxic people is not a painful rejection, but a profound form of personal freedom. A few days later, a formal memo arrived in my inbox threatening to alter future inheritance plans if I failed to fall in line and support my brother. Instead of reacting with anger, I took total control of my own life. I contacted an attorney to update my legal documents, officially removing my parents from my healthcare directives and emergency contact forms. I replaced them with my grandmother and true friends who had actually supported me through my darkest hours. Standing on my balcony once again, watching the gray clouds clear over the Portland skyline, a deep sense of peace settled over my chest. I folded a private letter to my grandmother explaining that I was not abandoning the family, but simply stepping away from a fiction created at my expense. I closed the door on a childhood of neglect and stepped boldly into a future where my value is never up for negotiation.